Hello and welcome to Bob Reeves Brass. It's so great to have you joining us wherever you are from around the world. I'm John Snell, and I'm going to be doing our Q&A today with our special guest, trumpet artist. He's went from being a cruise ship musician to being a headliner, and he was recently featured, kind of recently, within the last few months, on episode 74 of the Other Side of the Bell podcast, none other than Nathan Samuelson. So let's bring Nathan in all the way from Canada. Hey Nathan, how you doing?
I'm good. Yourself?
I'm doing great. You can hear me okay? And
I can. Perfect.
so where you're
how hear me okay?
Oh yeah, loud and clear. Awesome. How are things going up there for you? I know it's been, actually you were the first Zoom interview I did during the COVID shutdown. So it was actually kind of great for me, kind of got me out of my comfort zone, because we normally do those interviews in person, and it was so awesome chatting with you and very inspiring in a kind of difficult time for everyone. So, but it's been a few months. So how have you been? What have you been up to?
I've been good, actually. Yeah, no, I've been trying to keep busy. I've been doing a fair amount of practice, just keeping my chops up. Practicing a lot of stuff that I don't normally practice when I'm, gigging and busy and playing on cruises. So it's been nice to really work at my own pace and do my own things.
Well, yeah, and we kind of found that here at the shop too, with limited things of the traveling we normally do. It's nice to kind of focus on ourselves here, get the shop in order, and things like that. So, what kind of, like, in terms of your practicing and stuff, are you making any changes, or getting out of your comfort zone in terms of what your daily playing is like?
Yeah, usually on a typical day when I'm sort of getting ready for a gig on a cruise, I would be just doing my 15-20 minute warm-up in the morning, and then I would run a 45-minute set or two 45-minute sets of cruise ship music just to keep my lip in shape. So now there's not really a lot of cruises happening, just small little river cruises currently, but that industry sort of is going to take a while to pick up again. So I've been currently just working on, expanding my routine a little bit, doing a lot more Bill Adams stuff. I've been diving into that. Actually, recently purchased the book.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's a wonderful, wonderful book. I love the exercises in here. They're fantastic, and the expanded exercises, the Jerry Hay expanded exercises, are great. So I've been really getting into that. I've been doing I actually do this morning note bending routine that Adam Rappa gave me, and it's a great routine that really just locks things in. It's a good workout, and it keeps my chops up and keeps me thinking, because sometimes when I do the same over and over again every day, I sort of go on autopilot and I'm not kind of on my feet. So I've been doing that, getting into more expanded routines every day, as well as doing some more transcriptions. I've been doing some Blue Mitchell transcriptions, and Kenny Dorham and Freddie Hubbard and all those fantastic, phenomenal jazz trumpet players.
Awesome.
And
so you're staying busy.
Yeah, no, I've been really shedding. It's been nice, and playing along with, like, Earth, Wind, and Fire charts, like horn charts and Tower of Power, and just brushing up on those, and it's been nice to really just dive into things that I don't normally tackle.
Yeah, you can't really dig in when you're out traveling somewhere on a cruise ship or something like that. So awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we already have Japan checking in. Our good friend Makoto Ishii is saying that's a great book, the Charlie Davis book. So you're up early, Makoto. That's early over in Japan. So let us know. We have Nathan Samuelson here for the next half hour, 45 minutes or so. Let us know where you're viewing from around the world. Put it right down there in the comments, and we can show it up on the screen. And most importantly, send us your questions for Nathan. Let us know what you want to hear about him. Nathan's a wonderful player and has done all kinds of different things. He has a solo CD, which I meant to hold up earlier, City Lights Ahead, that we'll talk about later. And like as I mentioned earlier, he went from being sitting in the pit in the cruise ship to being a headliner and doing his own solo projects and things like that. So it's very inspiring. Makoto is actually asking about the rappa bending routine. So would you mind getting into that, what that is, a little more specifically?
Sure. Yeah, sure. So I might have it here with me. But basically, essentially, you put the metronome at 120 and you play a whole note, a G, and then you play down to C, and then you play up to G again in the staff, of course, and then you bend down to F sharp, 8 quarter notes, and then you play 16 eighth notes, and then you bend down for another whole note on F sharp, and then bend up to the G, and then go down to the C, and then go back to the G again, all in one full breath. That's sort of like that's sort of the first exercise. There's 5 exercises in the series, right? So you go through all the different fingerings. So you go first open, you go second finger, first finger, and then 1 and 2, and then you start, instead of for the first one you start on G, which I just said, you start on C for the second one, and then you go down to C, octave below, and then you go back up to C, and then you do the same sort of bend, and then you go from E in the staff all the way to low C, then you go back up to E, and then you bend to the D sharp, and then the next series is you go up to G all the way down to low C, and then you go back up to G again, and then bend to F sharp, and then you go from C in the staff to low C to high C, and then you bend the B down to the B. So essentially, it basically, I've noticed doing the exercise, you want to keep the mouthpiece on your chops, sort of like Caruso in a way, when you're going through all the different fingerings. So you do the open one first, the second one first, and then the 1 and 2, and then you basically just don't want to break anything, and you sure feel like a big chop burn when you're finished each series, right? And essentially it locks in the time. You always want to make sure you use the metronome, so you're going like da,
Interesting.
Yeah, and so you're basically just locking in the time, as well as it's kind of like you're almost whistling with your tongue. It's all in the tongue, the tongue placement, like you're. And after doing that for a while, I used to do a slight pivot when I expand my range and stuff. I found that it really locks things into one solid range and one solid register. It really, like, I feel like I just need just a little bit of air and just a little bit of my tongue. It's kind of like whistling in a sense. So if you want me to, I can send that exercise.
Yeah. I wonder if we can post it in the comments later. Or if you have a screenshot of it or something like that, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
Okay, so there you go, Makoto. Yeah, we'll look for that in the comments in a little bit. But that was a great explanation, and so you said you start with that, or it's early on in your warm up?
Yeah, I do. So for my routine, actually, I'll dive into this right now before someone asks. It's inevitable someone's going to ask, but for my routine, I don't really start out with anything with the horn just yet. I usually get up relatively early in the morning, and I do 30 breaths, like deep breathing breaths, 30 to 40. I have a lot of water first thing. I drink like a liter of water. And then I do like 30, 40 deep breaths. Mm-hmm. And then I go for like a 4 or 5 kilometer run, and in the morning, and then after that I do a series of like push-ups and sit-ups and stuff, to get my my abs working and everything engaged and my core engaged and stuff. And then I have breakfast, and then that's sort of when I start playing. When I start getting into it, I usually for the first few minutes I do 10 breaths through the horn. I take the mouthpiece out and I just to get the air moving through the horn. And And then I put the mouthpiece in, and then I do kind of like a little pop, a click, just to like engage in my head that it really doesn't require that much air to play the instrument.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
According to, as Jim Manley always puts it,
Mm-hmm.
you really need that much air to play the instrument. So it always engages my brain to know that like you really don't need, if you're playing efficiently, you really don't need that much air. So I then do some mouthpiece buzzing for roughly, a minute or two. I do some free buzzing, and then I go straight from free buzzing, and I put the mouthpiece right over my lips, and then I just do some nice soft glissandos, kind of almost like I like to use the analogy like falling down a set of stairs. So there's no like break when you're playing when you're playing the mouthpiece. Everything's just smooth with all of the range of the mouthpiece that I'm playing. So I'll just start. I'll like just fall into the notes, and not necessarily. I'm more so worried about the feeling of the embouchure and the activity of the buzz, and getting the air moving and making sure I have a nice resonant sound. And after that, for about a minute or a minute and a half or two, then I go straight to the trumpet, and then I do some bends, the rappa bends. And usually when I get to from that whole series of exercise, it takes me about 25-30 minutes. Usually at the end, when I'm bending the high C down to B, it's very difficult to do. So it can be pretty taxing on the muscles. So usually I take like a solid hour off the horn after that.
Yeah, interesting.
And then
so that's like your first session.
That's my first session, yeah. And I usually what I always do is I learned this from like studying like great athletes. Like I used to really get it. I was really into Kobe Bryant when I was growing up, and I mean I still am. He's one of my biggest inspirations, and his work ethic was just incredible. And
yeah,
he always used to say that he got up earlier than everyone else so that he could fit another practice session in, because he wouldn't drain himself. He would have adequate rest in between sessions. So if you're getting up at like 5:30 in the morning and you put in the time on the horn, then by 10 or 11 a.m. you're gonna have stamina again to start another practice session. So you'll get like one more practice session in than everyone else.
Woo. Man, that's so inspiring, right?
Totally.
Get your first hour in before the sun rises, and you've already worked out. And that's actually I'm glad you touched on that, because that was one of the questions. Because in the podcast, you touched on that you did some body awareness stuff and some physical things before you even picked up the trumpet. So I'm glad you went through all that. So now I don't have to ask that question from Instagram.
Okay.
And then, so one of the other questions was it was a cruise ship musician asked about your transition from doing the playing on the cruise ship to then putting your show together, which we talked about on the podcast. But would you go over that again? First of all, what your inspiration was to make that jump, and then also take us through what that path was.
Sure. Well, I was doing the sideman gig for a few years, and I've always been like, at the beginning, even when I was, starting out, I always kind of had this vision of, having my own show. Not necessarily, I didn't think of all this like being on a cruise ship or anything like that. I just sort of kind of thought about like, one day I really want to play trumpet and, have my own sort of show and call the shots on my career and stuff, and like, play the music that I want to play and all those things. So, I guess I always had that intuitiveness and idea in my head. And when I started doing the sideman thing, I really enjoyed it. I saw a lot of really beautiful places around the world, and met a lot of really cool people and great musicians and stuff. I came back from cruising for a few months, and I met very famous trumpet player around here, his name's Gary Guffman,
Mm-hmm.
and I met him actually. It was unfortunate circumstances, but I met him at a funeral. Um, Tommy Banks, a legendary pianist from Edmonton, he passed away, and I met him at a funeral. Gary Guffman, and Gary was sort of like he mentored under Tommy Banks, the piano player that passed away, and I met Gary, and I didn't realize this. I heard a lot of things about Gary, like how great of a musician he was, and how he had played on cruise ships. I didn't really know the extent or anything like that, but so, anyways, I talked to him I approached him and said, very very nice to meet you. I love your playing. I listened to you while growing up, and um, and I asked him like, how do you manage to get into cruising like this, like being a guest entertainer and having your own solo show and everything. And he told me that he wrote all his own charts and arrangements, and he's a phenomenal writer and arranger and player, of course. So after that, he actually lives in Poland. A few weeks went by. He flew back to Poland, and I messaged him, and I asked him, so are there any like agencies that you would recommend to send my stuff into, and see if I can get into this guest ent thing. And he said, yeah, sure. Here, here's a number of agencies like Blackburn Agency, Don Casino, TAD Management. And I said, okay, sweet. So I sent off a quick email to all of those agencies and wanted to not really expecting anything, right? So I sent them some of my music from my album City Lights Ahead, and then I got back. Tad got back to me and said, we'd like to have a call with you and do an interview because we're really interested in like your brand and stuff and what you have to offer, and we really like your music. So I was like, whoa, this is cool. So I got signed that day, the day of the email, and I told Gary, and then Gary said that he would produce my show, and he would sort of like give me all the charts that were sort of that he was doing, because he was sort of kind of on his way out of cruising at the moment, and he was busy with a lot of his projects back in Poland. So he gave me a bunch of his charts, and like Chet Baker, Miles Davis medleys, some it don't mean a thing, sing sing sing, like all of those just great standards that people just love hearing, and Besame Mucho, and so that's sort of how it happened for me. And I emailed my agent and told my agent that this is going to take a certain amount of time to work all this repertoire up, and she said, okay, well, I like your voice too, so I kind of want you to sing as well in your show. So I was like, oh man, trumpet's enough already. Now I have to sing. So I had to learn how to sing in like learn like chops on how to sing like Michael Bublé and be able to belt and stuff. So I took lessons from my girlfriend, who's actually a vocal teacher, and she taught me like how to all the technique, belting, everything, how to sing, what to do, get your voice in good shape, and gave me all these stuff to listen to, Frank Sinatra, Bing Crosby, all of those fantastic singers. And
amazing. What a girlfriend. Wow.
Right?
Well, that's a wonderful answer, and I want to follow up for that. But before we get to that, we got a lot of people checking in and showing some love. Christopher Jones, all the way from the UK. So it's amazing. We've already spanned the globe from Japan all the way to the UK. And, I mean, that's one of those things. I mean, it's just astounding with all the stuff that's going on in the world that we can be here, and with a few clicks of the buttons on the computer that I can barely do, but I still manage to do it. We can connect with people from all over the world and talk trumpet and music and all this stuff. So if you're just joining us, show us some love. I'm here with Nathan Samuelson here for the next, we've still got 15, 20 minutes, so ask your questions. Jan is saying, Nathan, so pleased to see you, always working your craft, so showing some love. Guillermo, great man and great trumpet player, so you got some friends. And then I don't know who this Dylan guy is. Who is this hack? LOL, just kidding, brother. Much love to you.
Oh, I know Dylan.
Yeah, so if you're just joining us to the other part, if you missed some of the great advice we've already been talking about and Nathan's been sharing, this whole Q&A will be archived here on our Facebook page and uploaded to the Bob Reeves YouTube channel. So if you have someone who's not on social media or hates Facebook for whatever reason, they can catch this in a day or two up on our YouTube channel, and you won't want to miss it. So then my follow-up, Nathan, what advice could you give to someone? Because go to music school, you learn how to play your instrument, you might learn how to take an audition or something, but a solo show, being up on stage where it's just you and you have to entertain, a lot of schools don't teach that. So what did you learn, especially from Gary, and then also in your experience, that you can pass on to young players, or I mean even older players that want to do their own show as opposed to just sidelining?
Right. I know that like sort of to have like a solo show, I think you're essentially selling yourself. You're selling your image, you're selling your brand. So I try to like treat it kind of like I'm a business, sort of have like a business model, and see myself as kind of like, what would if I was an audience member, what would I want to see? And if you're selling to, you have there's one thing about like selling to just trumpet players, if they're all going to come to your show and they're just trumpet players and they want to see trumpet stuff. But it's one thing about that, but like being able to like sell yourself to just the general audience, and get someone who's not really familiar with trumpet interested in your show, which is really difficult to do. So certainly I've really, like, the last few years I've really tried to like work on my brand and work on sort of like who I am and sort of like my niche and where I fit into this industry, and like how I can sort of like be authentic, be myself without trying to be fake and sort of like not kind of feel like, because some people try and sort of sell themselves as like what they think that people would want, but it's not really necessarily who they are. So I think an audience member can really sort of like tell, if someone's being really authentic with who they are and their music and stuff. So I think that one of the biggest things is being yourself and let things flow naturally. And, it's got to be organic, and just being yourself. Like if you're a really, a funny person, or, comedic, or, you're really outgoing or high energy or whatever, that will, like embrace that and let that sort of come out on stage in your persona and who you are and how you define yourself on stage. And I think that like sending like lots of positive vibrations into the universe, and just being a nice person to work with, and being respectful, and just being able to relate to people at a certain level, and just being able to like feel like, okay, well, how would I want to be treated in this situation, and just tactfully dealing with things, just being like just a good, nice person to hang out with. And I think that's a really good thing to do when you're sort of trying to, I guess, have your own show, and you want to be the person that you want to be the person that other people view you as. And
you'll get called back because people enjoy being around you.
Yeah, exactly.
Go figure, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's great advice. And Paul has a kind of follow-up question on that. But also, did you create just one show, or did you do several? And also, how long typically is one of your shows?
Sure. So I have two shows currently, and they're 45 minutes each, so it's about 8 or 9 songs. And currently, I'm actually trying to craft a third show, which is I'm in the works now. I'm trying to sort of get a theme and sort of like find like a theme going on with the show, and sort of an arc I can build on. And but yeah, typically cruises want 2 shows. Yeah,
2 shows, like different.
Yeah.
I mean, are they contrasting, or are they just?
No, they don't necessarily have to be. Like, my first show is kind of has some Chris Bodie elements to it, which by the way, I love Chris Bodie. He's a phenomenal musician, and just generally a great person, great human being. Yeah, so one show I have is kind of like Chris Bodie sort of Sting influence, kind of with some Michael Bublé elements to it. I do sing some Michael Bublé stuff, Frank Sinatra kind of stuff. So that's my first show, and then my second show is kind of more like Chet Baker, Miles Davis, Cool School sort of. And I have a song called Besame Mucho that I sing in Spanish, actually. So just to kind of tie things together, have some contrast. I actually had to learn how to sing in Spanish it took quite a few months to learn that, but
and I suppose also to do it confidently in front of people is a whole different than singing Besame Mucho in the shower.
Yeah, in order to sell it and like actually sound sound good and authentic, and like if someone is knows the language and knows the song in the audience, you want to come across as being respectful to the song and being able to pronounce everything correctly. And so yeah,
great advice. And so if this is from me, so when you're on the cruise ship and you're doing these shows, how do you keep your figure and stay in shape and not eat and do all the cruise ship stuff?
I tell you, it's pretty tough when there's a unlimited buffet on cruises, and it's pretty tough to stay in shape. But they do have a gym there, so I try and stay in shape with the gym. But as far as like trumpet wise, I'm not going to lie, it is very, very difficult to stay in peak shape when you have to perform 2 shows back to back, 45-minute break in between, when the horn is on your face like constantly. There's like the most breaks that I'll ever have in a song would be like maybe 7 or 8 bars.
Ooh, man.
Yes. I'm playing like constantly. I'm playing like melodies, and then taking some up the octave, and then soloing as well, and like entertaining, moving around. The thing that's really great about that though is like I can sort of make my patter up, and sort of I have everything sort of prepared, but I can extend the patter a little bit longer if there's a song that's really physically taxing. Like there's a song called Tico Tico that I do, and it's not too hard at first, but at the very end I have to play the melody double tongued at like 172.
Ooh.
So it's like that. So it's pretty difficult.
Well, you have to learn Doc Severance's trick, where he puts the horn down and goes to the audience and said, "Let me hear an ole," and then does that 2 or 3 times, and then the audience goes ole, and then he picks up and goes again. I've heard him do that a couple times. Genius.
I gotta write that down.
Yeah. Oh man, great advice. We got folks still checking in. We're here with Nathan Samuelson, and if you haven't heard his episode of the Other Side of the Bell Trumpet podcast, do yourself a favor. It's everywhere online that you can listen to podcasts. Spotify, it's on Apple Podcasts or iTunes, Google Podcasts. We're now on Stitcher, I think, which is a newer thing, episode 74. So check it out, because we get more in depth in a lot of these topics, and it was episode, as I'd mentioned earlier. And for those of you that are just joining us, A Point of Business, this whole Q&A will be archived. So don't worry if you missed anything, or if some of these questions we already got to earlier. Don't worry about it. You can rewind at the end and watch the whole thing. So the next question coming in is from Elliot, who wants to know who your inspirations are, and especially ones that keep you motivated. I mean, you had mentioned Kobe Bryant in terms of his work ethic, and also who are you listening to? So that may be one and the same, or it may be separate questions for you.
I mean, certainly, like, growing up, starting, like, learning to play the trumpet, I would say, like, my biggest inspiration starting out would have been Chuck Mangione. He was the first real guy that I really, really got into at the beginning. My dad introduced me to Chuck Mangione at, like, the age of 5 years old, and sort of the sound of his horn just really resonated with me and stuck with me. And, you know, I guess I was too far gone by that point, with wanting to you know, dedicate my life to the instrument and be a performer. And so during that path, I really got into a lot of classical music during sort of my junior high school years. I really like Maurice Andre and Wynton Marsalis is just phenomenal. His jazz and his classical is just fantastic. And then sort of I shied away from the classical side out of high school, and I got more into jazz, and really into jazz. And my biggest jazz inspiration, actually, I would probably say my first real jazz guy, a trumpet player, would have been Clifford Brown. I absolutely love Clifford. He's I listened to Clifford Brown with Strings album almost like every night before I went to bed for like months. Like, it was like just his sound, just his big, beautiful sound, and like just the way he emotes his voice through the horn is just, to me, it's like no other trumpet player I've listened to. So I always like go back to Clifford Brown, and I really like Chet Baker too, and Freddie Hubbard. And currently I'm actually really getting into like current trumpet players. Marquise Hill, phenomenal player.
Yeah, Marquise is a great one. Yeah,
fantastic. And you know, Till Bronner, I really love Till Bronner's playing. Super tasty.
Mm-hmm. Any non-musicians other than Kobe that inspire you or keep you motivated? Or other instrumentalists that aren't trumpet players?
Let's see. It's a good question.
Or are you a trumpet geek? It's okay if you are.
Well, I actually know. I really am inspired by Stan Getz. I love Stan Getz. I always try and emulate his sound when I'm playing like a bossa nova or a samba. I love his sound, and I love the writing of Antonio Jobim. His writing is just beautiful. That Jobim record is just a classic. You know, Girl from Ipanema, Garota de Ipanema, So Danza Samba, and all of those songs from that record is just, it's historical for me. It's one of my favorite records. It really, a lot of my you know, my bossa nova writing sort of comes from Jobim and his sound and stuff.
You can hear that influence in City Lights Ahead in that album, because you have quite a bit of that in there. Was that part of your inspiration for that album, or is that you wanted to weave in?
Yeah, I sort of kind of came out with the album when I was in a plane one time, and I was flying home from you know, the land of bossa nova, which is Brazil, and I was flying home from Brazil, and I had this song sort of stuck in my head, and it's actually the second track on my record called Meu Amor, and I had this song sort of in my head, or this melody. And you know, I had been listening to a ton of Antonio Carlos Jobim, like while I was in Brazil. Like I would be on the beach and I would be like, have my headphones on, and I'd be listening to Jobim all the time, and Stan Getz, and a guy named by the name of Baden Powell. And I would listen to Sergio Mendes, and like just all of those Brazilians. And I really got that in my ear. And then I just started like having sort of an idea or a vision of doing an album sort of like that, with a similar sort of vibe. I remember there's a song, I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing it right, but it's called Checa di Saudade. It's called No More Blues in English translation. And I sort of like I went on this wine tour in Brazil, and they had this cool sort of like tunnel in the building underground. And you walked in the tunnel, and they had on these speakers, it was completely dark, you were walking, and on these speakers they were playing like Gregorian chant. And it was very cool. And they had like the wine that the Pope drank out of, some of the popes, and like they would just basically be in the wall, right? It's kind of like a museum sort of concept, and they would just have the light shining on each individual wine bottle. And it was very cool and very inspiring. So I kind of had this song stuck in my head. I had been listening to like a lot of Jobim for the past while, and Checa di Saudade sort of came in my head as like, oh, let's begin the song with like this Gregorian chant sort of concept, like what I experienced in that wine factory. And then that's just kind of how it happened, you know. It's like this cool minor intro in the beginning, and I was like, oh wow, that's pretty neat.
Ooh, wow, that gives me goosebumps thinking about it. And we put the album on here at the shop, but then the problem is everyone starts kind of laying back and not working as hard because they're sitting back and enjoying it. So we have to be very careful when we play. Maybe at the end of the day when we're kind of getting relaxed anyway. But if I was really technologically savvy, I'd have your album queued up and we'd be able to play it and talk about it. But I'm not there yet. But you're on Spotify, right? Folks can listen to the album on there, and
iTunes. Yeah.
iTunes and everywhere. Awesome.
Correct.
So we'll throw the links to City Lights Ahead down in the comments so folks can get to it, because I love the album. It's a great album, and the mix of tunes too is because they're not all laid back and I don't want to say easy listening, but make you want to relax and drink wine. Some of them are straight ahead, really. What's the word I can say in public on a live stream? Kick ass, right? You go for it. So yeah. And this is the thing. I know we got a question from Instagram about this too. So that was your debut album, right? And that's always, people always put their all into the first album and then don't know what to do next. So have you fell into that trap, or are you moving on? Do you have another album in the works, or?
I think actually I want to come out with an EP soon. I'm thinking I want to. This album was sort of kind of like a, what if I did, try to experiment with different things here. Like there's a few songs in there where I experimented with, changing my sound on my trumpet to like make it sound like a electric guitar, or experiment with different sounds like panning and stuff, and different studio stuff, like magic in the studio with Pro Tools. And I really, it was more of like a what if I could try this, what if I could try that, and experiment with different sounds. What would happen if I made my trumpet sound like this, do this cool reverb effect. So I think it's been kind of like a sort of like a process where I kind of have sort of found what I like and what I sort of have been like, what sort of like makes my clock tick, like what my sound is, and sort of defining my sound, and really like finding what I'm best suited for, and what I really want to, like, be defined as, for a trumpet player. Um, and so I think that, like, for my next album or EP, I'd like to experiment a little more with vocal stuff. I sing my title track at the beginning, City Lights Ahead. I'd like to, do a little more singing, maybe some more writing, vocal stuff, and experimenting with more kind of like a chill sort of, maybe harmony sound for most of the EP. More harmonies, add some more harmonies, trumpet harmonies in there, more arranging. I think I'd like to experiment with more of that.
Awesome. We're looking forward to it. Keep us updated.
For sure.
Yeah, exciting. Well, we got a couple more questions coming in. We are here live with Nathan Samuelson from all the way up in Canada via the technologies of Skype and Facebook and all of that stuff. So if do have time for a few more questions, so throw them down in the comments. And if you're just joining us, let us know also where you're viewing from, because it's one of the ways we help to stay connected, and it means a lot to us. I'm sitting in the front room here at the shop. I don't know where you are, Nathan, but we're all still kind of basically quarantined and not doing the typical things we would normally be doing over the summer. So this is a great way to connect. Adam is checking in and wants to know, and I don't know if this is personally or just kind of in general, how did the cruise gigs go, and how did it end? So I don't know if that means due to COVID or just in terms of career-wise.
Like cruise gigs, like, generally speaking?
Yeah, I think so. And Adam, if you're still listening, if you want to clarify a little bit. But let's say just generally speaking, were you on the cruises when the COVID hit? Or?
Yeah, actually, technically, so I believe it was March was the time that sort of I had a contract to go to Costa Rica, and I was going to go there for a week, and I got the contract, and then I was planning, everything. I had heard about, COVID-19 and, what was going on with it. I didn't necessarily think it was going to be sort of an issue or relevant to, anything having to do with me. I thought it was sort of kind of like contained and, China and a few spots in Europe. But sort of the day that I got the contract sort of was the beginning of the end. It was kind of like, I think I got the contract on like Thursday, and then Friday had hit, and I heard about different lines closing or shutting down, and then the weekend hit, and I heard more news about, like, it's finally spread to America, and it's contagious, and like everyone's freaking out, and like things are closing and shutting down completely. So I sort of was like, okay, crap, this is gonna affect this Costa Rica gig. I had like my sunglasses all packed and my rubber duck, and it was so by Monday, I believe, I had heard the news that it was officially canceled, and it was sort of kind of like until sort of further notice, we don't really know what's going on. So cruise lines once like one cruise line sort of like shuts down, just everyone else sort of follows behind. And sort of that's kind of what happened when like one shut down, then others followed, and we're like, okay, we better evacuate and like, make sure, we make sure people are safe and get home safe, and like we'll continue this once things are sort of under control and under wraps. So that's kind of how it happened. It really felt like it all went downhill in one night. It just happened so quickly. It just became, it was like decimated in a matter of time.
Yeah.
Short time.
Yeah, but I feel like there's this energy building up for when things can safely open again. I mean, for music, for cruising, for traveling, like just for seeing our friends, like you can tell. I mean, some people are going crazy, but I think for most of us, there's this energy building up for when we can live our lives again, and I think it's going to be an amazing time. So
sure.
we just keep building on that. We have the podcast club joining us. It's another amazing, I don't know, success leaves clues, and the people that have been on the podcast you think are great players like yourself, and they have things to do, and they're the ones checking in. Like I always see you on here, Nathan, when I do the other Q&As. So we have our brother Morris Northcutt's checking in.
Hey, Morris.
And Jim Manley, who we were talking about earlier. So Jim, if you're watching, and I don't know if you heard us drop your name earlier about the airflow and lack thereof. So Jim says hi. And Morris actually has a question, and I promise I did not pay him to ask this. He says, how long have you been playing Reeves mouthpieces, and what attracted you to them?
I've been playing Reeves mouthpieces about since 2017. And for me, I was playing, before Reeves, I was playing a Bach 5C mouthpiece. And it was the first mouthpiece I ever got, and I played it for years and years and years. Like, I played it through, middle school, high school, and college, and I would play lead on it, which would be very taxing. But I played it was my all-around mouthpiece, and then a friend of mine, Brad Good, told me I should check out some Bob Reeves mouthpieces, and I was like, okay, sure, why not? I haven't really been sort of into mouthpieces. I remember I'm a firm believer in, like, if you find something good, then stick with it. Dominic Spera always used to tell me that growing up, like studying with him, he always used to say to me, he's like, when you pick a mouthpiece, keep it. If it sounds good, then don't mess with it. So yeah.
And he sounds just like that. I don't know if you caught him on the Bill Adam Trumpet Festival.
Yes.
Man, they had him on, and they'd ask him to chime in, and he sounded just like that. It was so great to see him. What an amazing guy.
Yeah, he looks great. I mean, it's been so long since I've seen him, but I'm thinking of once this COVID thing is kind of settled, I'm think I'm going to come and visit him.
Yeah. But so let me interrupt. Keep talking about mouthpieces.
Oh yeah,
and specifically Reeves and how great they are.
I found that, like, it really felt just from the feeling of the mouthpiece, like the 42 mouthpiece, the S, I believe I play. The S. So I started out with the M, the 42M. And I wanted to go a little bit shallower, so I went with the 42S with the 692S back bore. And so far, I mean, I've played that for a few years now, and it feels great. It felt very similar to the Bach, as feeling it on my chops and stuff. So I was going for more of a familiarity. So that felt really good.
Awesome, thank you. And your check's in the mail.
Right.
But in all seriously, for those of you viewing that may not know about our company, I mean, we don't do endorsement deals. I mean, everyone who plays our stuff bought it. Just like if you were going to come to a concert here in the shop, Nathan, we'd pay you, to come and do it. So, I mean, it means a lot to us when we hear feedback like that. And it's not my joke with Morris about asking that question is, it's a joke. That's how we operate. So everything's even keel, and we know that people are saying great things about us mean it because they bought the mouthpiece, and the people that don't say nice things about us, it's because they bought the mouthpiece and didn't like it. So everything's transparent here. At least that's what we try to do.
Actually, like, out of all the mouthpieces I've tried, it's a little biased because I play Reeves, but I do really believe in your product, and it just, for me, I can't speak for other people because everyone's different. Your chops are different. So, but for me, it feels very, very comfortable, and it's not like it doesn't feel like you're mashing a piece of metal against your chops.
Well, awesome, and I'll pass that along to Bob because he's the reason we're all here.
Please do, for sure.
Awesome. Well, Nathan, we've never met in person, so this is, it's cool and also kind of strange in the same regard, because I've interviewed you and we've done this live Q&A, and I feel like I know you, but I can't wait till I can actually meet you at some point here.
Yeah.
So that being said, thank you so much for being on here. And before I wrap up, though, I want to let everyone know who's viewing this whole Q&A will be archived here on Facebook. And for the folks that don't use social media, it will be up on YouTube here in a day or two. I'll upload it to the Bob Reeves Brass channel up there, so you can share it with your students and stuff without having to have a Facebook account. But it's been fun. I can't believe almost we've done an hour already, and it's flown by so quickly. Thank you all for who that have been viewing and asking the great questions. But before we leave, Nathan, how can folks find you? What's the best way to follow you? I mean, we have to be everywhere these days. But what's the best place? Website, social media, streaming services?
So I mean, you can check out my music on Spotify, iTunes Store. I think I'm on YouTube as well. Some of my music, my album City Lights Ahead. I believe I'm on Amazon Music as well. You can check out my website at nathansamuelsonmusic.com, and you can also reach me on Facebook. Click the add friend button if you want. Feel free to message me. You can add me on Instagram at nathanmusicianmodel. That's about all the places you can reach me.
You're everywhere. Yeah. Then you post a lot on Instagram. You're active everywhere. I put the website down in the comments already, but we'll get those other links down there. But man, what a pleasure this has been. Thank you so much, Nathan.
Of course, thank you.
Looking forward to the
pleasure.
Oh man, it means a lot. And thank you again for the CDs. If I had mentioned, we got a whole bunch of CDs. This one's to my dad, to Keith. My copy's at home, so I had to find one to grab real quick. You kind of like you're saying about Chris Bodie. I mean, you're nice to people. You're the whole package, and to have a whole box of CDs come for all of our employees, I mean, says so much about you and who you are and all the stuff you're talking about. You're not just talking the talk, you're walking the walk. So
I'm happy to support you guys, and I'm glad, I'm very grateful that I can be on these interviews and these podcasts. It means a lot to be with such esteemed company, and
happy to have you in the club. So thanks again, Nathan, and be safe and be healthy.
Sounds good. You too. Take care.
And thank you for watching. What a cool hour. Again, I can't believe an hour's gone by already. Great questions, great advice. And if you didn't listen to Nathan's episode of The Other Side of the Bell, again, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of the places you would find your podcast, just search for The Other Side of the Bell. And episode 74 was Nathan's episode. I can't believe it's been 10 episodes because tomorrow we will be having our next guest will be the guest who was on episode 84, Danny Falcone. So you can join us here tomorrow, same place, same time, 2 p.m. here on Facebook. Danny was a great lead player in Las Vegas, Celine Dion, Lady Gaga, of course, every headliner that's gone through Las Vegas he's performed with. And if you're a horn section fan, Santa Fe and the Fat City Horns. You know, if you hear one show in Vegas, it's not the headliners, it's going and hearing Santa Fe because they play all of your horn section favorites up an octave. I mean, it's on steroids. So hope you'll join us tomorrow when Danny Falcone will join us. Other news, check out our YouTube channel. We have some cool videos we've posted. One that's kind of controversial, but goes along with what Nathan was talking about airflow in the trumpet and how you really don't need anything. I play 2 trumpets at once. So that'll be the little teaser if you want to see me play 2 trumpets with only 1 mouthpiece, one of which has no air going through it. So go visit the Bob Reeves YouTube channel and have some fun with that video. And all the other things that are archived, all of our Q&As are up there. Okay, thank you for joining us today. That does it. I'm John Snell here at Bob Reeves Brass. Thank you for joining us. Be safe, be healthy, and see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.